Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Main Gains podcast. I am your host, Jenny LaFerrier, and with me is special guest Perrin Brown. Perrin, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's almost spring. I'm so excited. Daylight
I
savings.
know the sun is out longer. The temperatures are kind of getting a little bit warmer.
Yeah, it's so good. It's kind of weird though because it kind of reminds me of like the pre-COVID or like the early days of COVID weather because it's like the 3-year anniversary of COVID.
Oh man, I guess you're right.
Yeah. I always remember it because it was like my mom's birthday and we went to Florida before everything hit the fan and yeah, now it's like it's just like it's just reminding me of that in a way.
I can totally see it. It was actually really funny. My wife Zoe, her birthday is March 20th.
Oh
And so
no.
it was literally like either a week before or just like right before, and it was like the world shut down. And we're like, well, happy birthday.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. Yeah, mine was my mom's March 4th, so it was her 60th birthday. So we got to celebrate it all beforehand, and then she ironically went back down to Florida to do a jewelry show because that's what she does for a living. And um thankfully she got home because like the world shut down.
Yeah. So for all of you listening, Perrin actually reached out to me to come on to this podcast. So this is Perrin's world and we're living in it today.
Well, I mean, I found your blog, I think through like what's it called? The Instagram tool, like the related something
Oh
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and because we have a mutual friend who's on Beantown with you, Yeja, and I took a French class with them in college, and a bunch of their teammates were in my sorority in college. So yeah, it's yeah, whatever. Everything comes full circle
I know,
eventually.
it's such a small world.
Yeah. But
So
yeah,
why, yeah, Perrin, why don't you give the people a brief rundown of like your, I don't know, who you are?
sure. So, I'm from Darien, Connecticut originally. I grew up playing, I think I tried at least like every sport under the sun, which I was very thankful for. And the sports I ended up sticking with through like high school and a little bit of college were field hockey, ice hockey, and I played a little lacrosse in my high school, but it didn't end up working out because I ended up studying abroad in China in my high school my sophomore year, and I couldn't continue my lacrosse career. And I ended up switching and playing golf. But I loved all those sports, and I was very thankful that I got to go to a college where I could kind of continue to play. So I ended up going to Dartmouth College, mostly for academics, not for athletics. I kind of tried to get recruited for field hockey, but that also ended up not really working out. And so I ended up doing a bunch of club at my school, and I kind of found my way back not too long ago. I've been coaching field hockey and lacrosse for the past couple of years for youth. I was actually, speaking of the pandemic, I was supposed to start coaching lacrosse um, before the world shut down in my hometown, but that obviously did not happen. But I found out recently I'm going to be coaching for Harlem Lacrosse here in Boston, which I'm so excited to do.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, it's an organization that brings lacrosse to schools and inner city programs that don't have access to lacrosse because it's in like it is a relatively privileged white sport right now, and they're trying to change it and make it more accessible for other folks, which is cool. So very excited about that. And the other thing I reached out to Jenny about was I'm a lifelong celiac. I'm super allergic to gluten, and gluten is, for those of you that don't know, gluten is the protein in all grains except corn, rice, and oats. And I was thankful to be diagnosed like when I was 18 months old. My mom, I actually like lost a lot of weight, and to the point where I after she stopped breastfeeding me and I got like the big distended belly they get in those like starving children commercials, and 16 doctor's visits later, I they did an endoscopy where they stick a tube down your throat and go into your intestine. Thankfully, I don't remember any of this, and I got properly diagnosed because like back in the early 90s, it wasn't as like popular as like common as it is now, which is cool, which is like kind of a double-edged sword because even though there is more awareness about like what is gluten-free and what isn't gluten-free, a lot of folks will just like pretend to be gluten-free or just choose the diet, which we can talk about it a little bit more. I'm curious what your experience is seeing that's in the athletic community, but it's kind of detrimental because like there is an awareness, but like there isn't an awareness for like cross contamination for folks like me who actually like cannot have any, like can't have can't have a shared fryer, can't use the same toaster, and can't use like same surfaces and whatnot. So yeah, yeah, I'm an athletic celiac for, to boil it all down.
That's crazy. Well, it's crazy, but it's also very good that you got diagnosed at such a young age. Actually, one of my neighbors growing up, he he was a teacher at my high school, and he had kids that I went to school with, and he told us a story one day in school where he's like, my son is celiac, but when we were first like had him, he just kept getting sick and we didn't know what was wrong, and so we just kept feeding him these things, and then finally like one day they kind of like put two and two together and we're like, maybe like it's what we're feeding him, and then they like brought him to the doctor and they're like, dude, you're like just crushing this kid with like gluten and he cannot have it. And he was like, oh, good to know.
That's funny because that's kind of what happened with my mom. The one part I forgot about the story was so the doctors kept telling my mom to give me like saltines and stuff, which is obviously kryptonite for me. So my mom defied their orders and gave me McDonald's French fries, peanut M&Ms, and pistachio nuts because those are all gluten free. And maybe that's why I'm addicted to those now. No, I can't say no to either of those at any opportunity.
So how I want to like ask, how was it being a celiac mainly in high school at first, just because like there wasn't a lot of awareness around it and it sounds like yours is pretty serious. So how did that affect your just like day-to-day life and even being an athlete?
Yeah, so growing up, I always had to bring my yeah, it's funny because like on your vlog, you always had like you I love when you like go through like what you bring or what you bring like to your rugby tournaments. That was my life. Like there was never an opportunity to like eat at the cafeteria or eat at like my team actually had pasta dinners, so I always had to bring my own pasta, or I always had to bring my own dessert or just everything because like even my team would have Twizzlers at the end of the game for some reason. It was like a tradition started by another allergy kid, and ironically I'm allergic to Twizzlers, so you know I just always had to be prepared, kind of like that Lion King song. Always be prepared, always bring food, which is fine. I mean, some my teammates were really nice about it and it was really cute. There was actually one time I got glutened in high school. My nanny accidentally gave me waffles with gluten, and I like was crying to my mom. I was like, please call my coach and tell her that like I can't move, and she's like, yeah, I got you. And then my teammates like back in like that was when people like still like wrote on your Facebook wall. Like my teammates all wrote on my Facebook wall like, parents, sorry you had bad waffles. So my teammates are always really understanding. Some of them like went above and beyond because we would do these things called secret psychs. I think different teams have different names for it, where you like give each other gifts, and my teammates would like some of them would like really go above and beyond and like make me gluten-free like brownies or something before our games, which was really sweet of them. So yeah, they really looked out for me. The best though was I found out in high school that oats became gluten-free, or like some scientists said, oh yeah, the oats are good now. And I was like, oh cool, I can eat Lucky Charms. And my teammates just like started giving me Lucky Charms like all the time before games. And then they'd selfishly give them to me, and then they'd eat the marshmallows.
I'm about to say they did probably want the marshmallows.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, everyone was really nice about it. And like everybody knew mine was serious. It's like some people are like, oh yeah, like you were the first person I met who has celiac disease, who has celiac disease, and like so and so I know got diagnosed recently, or so and so is trying to cut out gluten. So it's yeah, it was fun. It's like yeah, I was like a walking like here's what celiac disease is infographic.
So how did being and how does being celiac affect your ability to be an athlete? Because I know and you know that carbs are a great fuel source for athletes and carbohydrates have a lot of gluten. It's like they're
Mhm.
one and the same almost. So like how did that affect you and how did you find how to fuel your body?
Great question. So there's this big misconception that like carbs equals gluten, and that's absolutely not true. Rice has carbohydrates, which is gluten free. Cauli rice does. There's so many gluten free pasta options like now. I mean, this was before Bonza and the chickpea pasta like market kind of blew up. So there's always been like rice based pasta. So I would eat a lot of that. Um, there were like rice based pizza crust. I loved like frozen pizza as a kid, and I still do now. um So there were those. I'm trying to think what else I used to fuel. Um, I mean, obviously, like all meats and like vegetables are gluten free, so I would eat a lot of I would eat a lot of meat too. I'm like kind of a carnivore. I can be vegetarian if I really wanted to, but then it makes it even doubly harder to like eat out and stuff. So I mean, I try to avoid meat when I can, but like I won't say no to like a good hamburger or a good steak every now and then. So yeah, those are kind of the ways in which I fueled my body. I think what bothers me now again is like people like right now, I think I sent you a meme before we started talking, is like people think being gluten free equals being healthy, which is not necessarily true because like sugar is still gluten free and like there's like if you really look for it, there's a substitute for everything now. I mean, I can't believe they're gluten free Oreos right now, like, and you can find them everywhere, which is like wild to me. Like if I told my like 5-year-old self this, they'd be like, no, get out of here.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a very important distinction to make, that no matter what diet it is, because for example, like vegans, not hating on vegans, but it's just like Oreos are vegan. And so it's like just because you have what feels like a healthy diet does not necessarily mean that the person or what you are eating is quote unquote healthy or good for you.
Exactly. I had a friend who actually was temporarily vegan in college, and they did not yeah, they did not really, well, they didn't really adhere to it, but two, they would always like eat like Oreos and other and like just Oreos and pasta, which is like fine, but not really doing the job for your body.
So when people tell you, or like how do you go about kind of educating them when they're like, "Oh, I'm going gluten free because it's better for me." It's just like, do you just let it slide and be like, "Oh, good for you," or you be like, "Well, it's not really better than just having the gluten if it doesn't bother you."
So I've been trying to be less judgmental and more curious. So my question usually is like, why? First off, I mean, there's some who kind of start doing it just because, oh, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to cut this out for a while and see how it makes me feel. And I'm like, great, that's a good thing to do. Actually, I'm so proud. One of my coworkers finally got an appointment with a gastroenterologist because her stomach's been bothering her for years, and she found out she's allergic to corn. I'm like, way to go. Like, come on. Like, find if I think there's this thing where I think like some boomers are like this. They're like, "Oh yeah, I've been like feeling ill after I drink milk for the past like 20 years, but whatever." And like shrug it off. But I'm like, "No, go to a doctor. Like go I one of my biggest pieces of advice is like if your stomach's bothering you, go to a gastroenterologist and they will help you figure out why your stomach's bothering you. Like this is like it's 2023, your stomach shouldn't be bothering you." If this is like if this is the title of the podcast episode.
Your stomach shouldn't be bothering you. I love it.
But yeah, no, again, like say if you feel something, say something. Like again, everyone should go to a gastroenterologist at least some point in their life just to like get a look at like your blood. And I don't know what levels they measure. I'm not a doctor. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor. But yeah, no, I think it's important to like be like you say, it's like just if something hurts, like say something about it and like
Mhm.
advocate for yourself.
Yeah, and like you have to have a reason behind a diet choice or a diet select. I say diet, but just like or dietary choices
Sure.
versus just being like, this person says it's healthy, so I'm going to do it. And it's just like what, but like you have to dig deeper on it, and you can't be so surface level and being like, this is the healthiest diet in the world. It's just like, well, is it the healthiest for you? And is it practical for you? Or like, can you even adhere to it? Because a lot of times it's just like you hear something that could be good on paper, and then you try to implement it into your routine, and you're just like, this sucks.
Absolutely. And to your point, I feel like that whole trend is one, it's a product of what's it called? Celebrity culture and TikTok culture and all that jazz. And two, it's accessibility is a huge factor. I mean, unfortunately for me, I'm thankful that I'm able to afford a gluten-free diet because gluten-free often costs extra because the ingredients and the process to make it are a little bit more finicky. So yeah, I usually it's what's it called? There's this other influencer called Phil Hates Gluten. He's like gluten free shouldn't be extra. Or he makes like t-shirts about like yeah, I'm gluten free is extra, so am I. That sort of thing. But yeah, accessibility is a huge thing. I mean, like in LA, for instance, I used to live there actually years ago, and vegan stuff was so accessible all the time. And it's a little bit harder. Like one of my vegan friends who's been vegan for 10 plus years, she says like, yeah, it's really hard when she goes out to like the country or goes like hiking in Vermont and New Hampshire because like there aren't as many choices available. So yeah, she has to like pack extra also. So it's yeah, accessibility is a huge factor to consider also when it comes to changing up your diet and making sure you have access to like all the stuff your body needs.
So if someone is gluten-free or celiac and they can't quite afford the like the bonza pasta or like the rice crust pizzas, like what are like I don't know, what are some solid options even for people who are just thinking of like getting a little bit less gluten in their diet? Like what are some solid options that they can do?
Good question. Some solid options. Instead of bread, I recommend using corn tortillas. Those are super affordable and they come in bulk packs. They're super cheap. That's one quick way to like, you know, put peanut butter and jelly on or just have your sandwich, like put all your sandwich ingredients on a corn tortilla. Um, Another quick option is uh again, like meat, fruits, vegetables, those are all gluten-free options. I think also buying you know, you can also just bulk buy either almond. I'm trying to remember what's like the cheapest flour, but if you have the time to prep, bulk buying, I'm trying to think. I don't know which one is affordable. You'd have to like fact check me on this or go to the grocery store and fact check me. But like just buying a gluten-free flour and starting to make like a bunch of like make muffins and cookies and whatnot if you have a sweet tooth. Ice creams, a good number of ice cream flavors are also gluten free. I know you love ice cream.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd say like about half of the ice cream flavors are usually gluten free whenever you go to a place. I'm trying to think about yeah, corn tortillas. I would say like if you're looking for like a gluten-free option, chances are there is a cost-efficient option. I'm happy. I'm like feel free to DM me if anyone is trying to find an affordable alternative. I will help you do your research. Actually, the same gal who I was talking about who was allergic to corn, she was asking me like, I can't find chicken tenders that are grain free. I'm like, I got you. That aren't vegan. I'm like, I got you. And we found one together, which was fun. So yeah, always happy to help people product search or find affordable options. The other thing I blog about is like, what's it called? I think a good number of Trader Joe's like frozen meals are gluten free, which I love. I'm a huge Trader Joe's fan, and they've always been there for me since day one. I actually have a gripe with them because they sometimes get rid of my favorite products. They got rid of the gluten free pretzels recently. I'm still mad at them for that.
I hate it when any brand gets rid of your favorite product and you're like, why'd you have to either take it away or change it or like it was perfect the way it was.
I feel personally victimized by you,
Yeah.
brand. Curse you, Trader Joe's.
So, I'm looking at your Instagram right now. You've done a great job of like showing people a lot of like gluten-free options and like meals and places that they can go. When did you start your Instagram?
I think I started it either when I think I maybe started with when I was living in Los Angeles. So I kind of bopped around the country since I graduated college. So I thought I wanted to be in the film industry, and this was before Me Too. And I ended up working at some hippy dippy spiritual startup in Los Angeles after college. And so I worked there for a little over a year. Then I got into Venture for America, which is like Teach for America, but for startups that Andrew Yang started. And so lived in Providence, Rhode Island for a summer. Then I lived in Philly for 2 years. And then I moved back home before it was cool. And I started coaching, which I loved. And then the pandemic hit. So I was home for 2 years, but I got my current job then remotely. But basically, the Instagram started because I kept going out to eat and I was like, oh, I want to remember the name of that restaurant. And I was like, you know what, I'll just like take a picture of it and I'll take a picture of what I got. And I'll put it on Instagram because I'm too lazy to make a shared folder and maybe it'll help other people out. And then it sort of like kind of grew because I was like, oh, I don't know, I'll like make a meme, or I don't know, this is like funny. This is an experience that happened to me. I'll make a meme about it. And people started like resonating with it. And I also just started like following people and who I like were likely to follow me back, because the gluten-free community is pretty tight on Instagram. So yeah, I'm really thankful. Actually, for any of those of you who live in Connecticut, the gluten-free expo, the New England Gluten-Free Expo is Saturday, April 1st in Danbury, Connecticut. Feel free to hit me up. I'm actually giving away tickets for that eventually on my gluten-free Instagram. So anyone who's curious about going, hit me up and I can send you the details. But yeah, it just grew, and I really like the folks I've met, and I like the brands I've interacted with, and I'll get stuff sent to me every now and then, or I'll enter giveaways and they'll send me stuff. And I don't know, it's a cool way to just like, spread the gluten-free love, like learn about different brands that are trying to uh break different barriers, and also just you know, just meet other people who know what it's like.
That is very cool. I didn't even know, like, I didn't know there was a convention for gluten-free people. Like, that's wild to me.
There's a convention for anything these days, now that like the pandemic's like kind of over. Yeah, their convention, their cons for everything, which is just it's so cool. I just like love reading about like these subcultures. And yeah, you went to a convention not too long ago. How was BPN? I know you did a really cool vlog about it, but that must have felt really good.
BPN was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was 4.5 days. I went down on Wednesday, came back on Sunday. And I think the coolest part about, you can probably hear my dog. He just got back from a walk.
Bruno.
He perked his head up. Um, but the coolest thing about conventions and like weekends and things like that, you're just surrounding yourself by like minded people, or like individuals who have a commonality between you guys, and so you're able to bond over that and learn and just like experience all these things with them.
Yeah, you get so many warm and fuzzies also.
um in addition to like finding these spots, are you into like baking or cooking and experimenting with new gluten-free recipes?
Yes and no. My kitchen, unfortunately, right now in Boston, I don't have a dishwasher, which is kind of
Oh.
like my Achilles heel. So I used to really do it when I was in Philly and when I was home. Right now it's a little bit tougher, but the I did enjoy. I got a chickpea pancake mix recently from Trutana, which I did a reel about. And that was kind of fun. I like kind of tried to recreate the little Matilda scene when she's making pancakes. So that was, it's like I like to do it every now and then. I can't do it on the daily because again, the dishwasher, and I'm like scared to like go do my dishes because my sink is super full. But anyways, the other thing that I'm really thankful for is like my office currently, one of the office administrators brothers is celiac. And Boston, actually, fun fact, is very gluten-free friendly because the National Celiac Center Research Center is just outside the city. So there's a huge awareness around here. I don't know if I could ever move away from Boston because it's kind of like ruined everything for me. Like I'll sometimes go to a restaurant, not really research it, and say like, okay, I'll just like have a salad and maybe a burger without a bun. And they're like, oh, we have gluten-free buns. I'm like, what? What? This is crazy. So without expecting it. So yeah, it's the answer is yes and no. I do like to experiment when I can, but between my office having like so many gluten-free snacks and gluten-free like foods available, as well as like having so many really good restaurant options around here, it's I'm just doing very much like more of that going out and exploring versus like cooking at home.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sorry, he's going crazy. We also don't have a dishwasher, so it's just these hands that have to do all the dishes.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, we're used to it at this point. Zoe bakes a ton, so like it's just normal.
Yeah, I'm sure she loves having you as like a sous chef or as the dishwasher to help her out and stuff.
I'm more so like the chocolate chip master. So anytime we're baking and there's chocolate chips, I come in for that part. I like put them in and I'm like, okay, that looks good. And then we mix it up, and then I'm the taste tester as well.
Ah, very important jobs. You're like the salt bay what with with
Except with
chocolate
chocolate
chips.
chips.
Yeah.
As
Totally.
we kind of wrap up here, I just want to ask about your coaching and like how you're kind of getting back into that for both, you said field hockey and lacrosse.
Yeah. So another piece of advice I have for people, just because like I've moved around a lot and I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to find like uh my teams and my coaching opportunities. I mean, I think people kind of like don't sleep on Google. Like if you want to coach or if you want to do something, just Google. Like I Googled like Boston youth lacrosse coaching and forgot about like Harlem lacrosse, which I did briefly in Philly. Um, I reached out to them and they got back to me immediately. And I mean, there's like 40 or 50 other like opportunities online. I mean, I think coaching is a really great way to not only give back, but it kind of like rekindle it, like brings out your inner child and like reminds you, like it gives you all these awesome flashbacks about like what it was like to do your youth sport. I remember I had so much fun when I did youth lacrosse because my dad was the coach and we just, I don't know, we had so much fun. And I just love, like every time I look outside I'm like, oh yeah, this is lacrosse weather, like, and you start seeing like lacrosse on TV more and it's just, yeah, more warm and fuzzies. I love coaching because like all, it's like, it sounds cheesy, but like your athletes always have something to teach you, whether you like it or not. It's like they're going to teach you something and it helps. I don't know, I think more people should try coaching if they have the bandwidth, because it's so much fun and like the kids really appreciate it. And it's the little things like bringing lollipops to practice or giving kids compliments on like, or helping them like being a nicer, like positive, encouraging force, as opposed to like a more don't be the coach you hated. Don't be the coach you hated in the past.
Yeah, as someone who works with high schoolers all the time, literally on the daily, I learn a lot about how to be a more effective leader and just effective like role model for them every time they step into the weight room. And I also see the differences between like the motivating kid who's like encouraging or the kid who is replicating what their coach does and like kind of making fun of a player, but they do it in like a fun quote way, even though it's
They're chirping.
yeah, they're chirping them and sometimes it goes too far and I have to be the one who's like, hey, you just went too far. And they're like, no, we didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. I was like,
Oh,
I've been around a little bit longer than you. I know when too far is too far. But coaching is definitely, it's like so rewarding when you really are like enjoying it and passionate about it.
absolutely. I'm so excited. My season starts in a couple of weeks. The new season starts in a couple of weeks, so very excited to meet the kids and just like go. I'm gonna treat myself to a new lacrosse stick because I don't like want to go back to my parents' house and dig it out because it's probably old and whatever. And I just want to get a new model like I see on TV. So I'm excited for that.
You can't have
Um,
old equipment as a
no,
coach because then
no, I can't. The best was what's it called? Once actually, it's funny when I was coaching. So for quick to what's it called, to circle back to field hockey. I was a goalie in high school because I wanted to I played ice hockey all my life, and when I was going to high school, I was like the options for a fall. I was like I want to play a fall sport, but I hate soccer because I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to go on the field. I hate running, so I'm not going to do cross country. I was like, I guess I'll try field hockey and I guess I'll be the goalie because I don't have the stick skills. I don't feel like picking up the stick skills for this because in field hockey, you can't use the other side of the stick. And I tried it when I was little and was like, I hate this. This is stupid. Because in ice hockey, it's like you use every part of the stick. So, yeah, so I became the goalie and we had a really killer team to the point where we were undefeated for 4 years straight, won states and counties like 4 years, and set some national record for like most longest winning streak for a while. And then so yeah, I started coaching, being a goalie coach for my old coach for her youth program back in 2019 before pandemic hit, as my foray, like as my first foray into like youth coaching. And I started shooting, instead of using a field hockey stick to practice with my goalies, I actually ended up using an ice hockey stick because I was like, I can't give you guys good shots. And they're like, you're gonna hurt me. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just like, this is for me. It's not for you. I'm not gonna take a slap shot on you.
It's like, trust me, this is better than me trying to use a field hockey stick.
I'm gonna give you more quality shots and I'm not gonna rip it at you.
Um, I just kind of remembered Harlem lacrosse. You were in Philly. Do you know Wyatt Knight?
Oh, sorry, what? Wyatt Knight?
Yeah. Do you know him?
Oh, Wyatt Knight? Oh, no, I thought you said when you said Wyatt Knight, I thought you were saying WHYATNIG. I'm like, what about the nighttime? No, I don't think so, unfortunately.
So, well, he used to work for BPN, and he actually helped start Harlem Lacrosse.
Oh, cool.
I'm like 90% positive. I'll have to double check that, but like and so because he was in Philly for a long time, and so I was just wondering if maybe you guys were at the same time, but probably not.
No, I actually only interacted with one of the other coaches there. I didn't really interact with any of the people who actually worked at Harlem Lacrosse. I only interacted with other volunteers, but I'll keep my ears pricked if he's around here.
Yeah. Last few questions. Which is your favorite sport to coach?
Um, I guess lacrosse. I mean, not lacrosse. Sorry, I guess field hockey because I've had more experience doing it. Ask me in a couple months, and I might switch to lacrosse, but my most recent experiences were with field hockey. So right now, I really like field hockey, but we'll see what happens with this lacrosse season.
Do you have any aspirations to coach full time?
Um, I have an aspiration to maybe coach at a higher level down the road. Like I would love to coach at a high school or maybe even coaching like a college club. Actually, one of the opportunities I was looking at, Northeastern needed a club lacrosse coach, but I don't have enough experience right now, so I would like to do something at a higher caliber down the road, which would be really fun.
Very cool. Well, Perrin, we're kind of nearing the end of this episode. Is there any last remarks you want to make to the people about either sports, celiac disease, going gluten free, whatever it is? Floor is yours.
Uh, Feel free to DM me. My DMs are always open. I am at Celiac Queen on Instagram. That is CELIAC Queen, like you normally spell it. No periods or underscores. Um, and keep Google is your best friend. Gluten is the protein in all grains except corn, rice, and oats. And again, please coach if you can. Kids really appreciate it. I think those were the 3 points I hit in the podcast.
And your stomach shouldn't hurt.
Your stomach shouldn't hurt. Your stomach shouldn't hurt. Go to a gastroenterologist or go talk to your PCP if your stomach starts hurting or if you feel like your digestion's off.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Perrin, for coming on the podcast. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review, share with a friend, yada, yada, yada. And I will talk to you guys in the next one.